I just recorded this entire video and my microphone was switched off. So excellent, let's do this again. It was game, set and match, Alcaraz. He defeats Sebastian Baez in straight sets, not the way he wanted to have won, but we'll get into that later for the second time. But let's break down the reasons which led Alcaraz to the victory. My name's Henry Tui, welcome to Post-Match Breakdowns, and subscribe if you love tennis. I'm working really hard to keep producing the best tennis content I can, so subscribing would mean the world. But let's get into it and start off with Alcaraz's nerves, because heading into this match, the nerves were definitely a factor that had to be assessed. Because Alcaraz said in interviews that he had started to feel the pressure of being seeded at these big tournaments like Canada and Cincinnati, and being the number 3 seed here, he's expected to win this match. He's expected to have a deep run and beat some top players. There was a serious risk that it could overcome him and he could not play his best tennis, which he didn't at any point in this match. And just in early portions, he double faulted twice in one game. Just things like that which just aren't characteristic of him, and I think it was more a mental issue. But he is a top player for a reason. He is exceptionally good and he is very mentally strong. So he did manage to keep it on serve and did well in those high pressure moments. But he did definitely struggle to generate damage on Baez's serve. And this was unexpected because Baez does not have a quick first serve. And he just was really safe behind it because Alcaraz wasn't returning well, and we'll get into that. But also because Baez was just playing really, really well in the rallies. He was absorbing and trading with Alcaraz's pace so well, and was topping Alcaraz with point construction and depth. And that length in particular was keeping Alcaraz at bay, because he was forced back behind the baseline and he couldn't step in, take the ball early and dictate play. So for the first 2 sets, Baez's length was immaculate, and it couldn't be, and it had to be perfect because Alcaraz would dictate if he gave him the chance. So Baez really impressed me, especially as he came into this match with no form. He hadn't won a match on the American hard courts, and he's on a 6-match losing streak, 7 now, and he's now lost 14 straight sets. But Alcaraz was definitely helping Baez along in this one, with his errors and just lackluster returning. So let's kind of dig into that. So Alcaraz plays an exceptionally aggressive brand of tennis. If you've ever seen him play, you know exactly what I mean. Every ball for Alcaraz is an attackable ball, and he has no B plan. He has plan A and plan A. He wants to hit through his opponents and take the ball early and dictate with his huge, heavy topspin ground strokes. But when he's not quite on it like he was today, he can hit a tremendous amount of unforced errors compared to winners and just give his opponents too many free points, which can kind of lead to his downfall. And I'll preface what I'm just about to say with that Alcaraz did break to take the first set 7-5. It was extremely close, great quality set. But in general, his return was very poor. He just seemed to tighten up in those high pressure situations and not swing as freely. He'd get it to 15-30, love 30, love 40. But Baez seemed to always come up with the goods, and Alcaraz just didn't get over the line as efficiently as he could have done and probably should have done. Where was I? Oh yeah, it reminded me of his kind of returning horrors against Sinner. So obviously they played in the UMAG final and at Wimbledon, and I believe Alcaraz was over 11 break points in both those matches overall. And Alcaraz did not make Sinner work for it. He didn't make it earn it because he just barely made any of those returns. He didn't give himself a chance to get into the rallies and even have a chance at them. So I think he's just got a bit of a mental block about it. His technique is absolutely fine, his technique's sound, his ground strokes are excellent, and so is his return, but he's just not quite as cutthroat as he has been in other bits. But he did obviously find a way, and he did obviously find a way, but it was a similar story in this match, because at those big moments, it did seem he went away just a little bit, but obviously he did win the match, so there's only so much I can critique him for it. But I just thought it's pretty egregious, given Baez's lack of pace on his first serve, and he needed to improve those returning numbers heading into the second set and keep up the momentum he had built and have a fast start, which is exactly what he did. So Alcaraz had a good hold to immediately put the pressure on Baez, and he then got it to love 40, and just like I mentioned, Baez keeps clawing it back. He just played very intelligent, well-constructed tennis to bring it back to deuce. But Alcaraz showed a real clarity of thought at this point in the match. He hit a perfect drop shot winner for advantage, and then immediately took control of the next point with an incredible return and just enormous hitting to force an error from Baez to take a 2-love lead. But Baez bounced back after a monster 13-minute game, and he took his 5th break point after saving Alcaraz break points and just so many juices. And just the key was really Baez's lobs. I think he hit 2 or 3 of them, which were ungettable by Alcaraz, and they were amazing. And they landed right on the baseline, and some gorgeous forehand passes kept him in the game and got him over the line. But to hit a good passing shot, you need your opponent at the net at all. And that was a huge tactic for Alcaraz. So let's kind of dig into his net play. Because by the end of that 2-love game, Alcaraz was 22 of 26 net points won. So when he was getting to the net at that stage, he was winning it about 85% of the time. And he found a lot of safety and effectiveness coming in behind his huge ground strokes. And by that stage in the match, that was over half the points that he had won in total. But his effectiveness dramatically dropped after that point, because Baez really got his eye in and just started striking the ball so well, his passes. And I think by the end of the match, I think he was only 28 of 41, I believe. I don't actually have the stat for that, but I think that's what it said. So Baez really cut off that pattern of play, and that's why he was much more competitive in the second set, even though it's the same scoreline. I think it was 4 breaks in that set. So it's just a lot more to and fro. Sorry, I've lost my spot. Oh yeah, so at 3-3, Alcaraz went to this volley play very extensively, and he was love 40 down after two volley errors and another error. But he got it back to deuce, and I'd just like to highlight this point because it was absolutely incredible. So Baez got it to advantage. It was break point, high pressure moment for Alcaraz. And after struggling with his volleys so much in this particular game, he just has the confidence to keep going for it. And he comes to net, hits a beautiful cross-court volley, very low. All Baez can do is slice up, and he hits an excellent lob. And Alcaraz, chasing it down on the run, hits an incredible tweener just over the net, so much pace, and forces an error off Baez. It will be on the highlights. Incredible point. I just like to point that out because it was lovely. And I just like to point it out because even though that point was great, the game was not. And Alcaraz was eventually broken. It was another 10-minute game, another huge game in this set. And it was just sloppy by Alcaraz in the end. So I'd just like to go point by point when he was broken, because it was just, he just shouldn't have been broken. Because Alcaraz had game point, add up, and he had a put away volley. And when I mean put away volley, I mean put away volley. Baez had given up on the point, he had stopped moving, had the entire court to work with. And Alcaraz does this moving backwards drop volley. Terrible decision, terrible footwork. Just, I had no idea what he was doing. Trying to be too flashy or cute or whatever. Messed it up completely, tanked it, and completely lost focus. Then it was deuce, and he double faults, and then it's break point, and he hits an unforced error on a rally ball. Just completely lost the plot. He had hustled so well in that game. He'd already saved so many break points. So to eventually get broken like that was pretty poor. But to kind of illustrate the kind of roller coaster nature of this second set, Alcaraz broke back in the next game. Just a really shifting, strange set. You know, tennis just does what tennis does, and just the momentum was all over the place. And just, I think the reason Alcaraz wasn't playing his best was for a couple of reasons. His serve wasn't doing the damage. He wasn't getting enough free points to set up +1 opportunities, things like that. Because he just wasn't hitting the spots very well. Alcaraz isn't a consistent spot server, and with how consistent Baez is off the forehand and backhand, you have to hit your spots. You have to challenge him on the return because he will get it deep. His depth was incredible. I'd just like to point that out again. And also about how I said about Alcaraz's aggression, no real other game plan, so it can go quite wrong. because by 4-4 in the second set, he had 21 winners, that's pretty good, to 48 unforced errors, which is awful. He's giving way too much away and not making Baez earn it as much as he should have. And Baez had 11 to 18, so he wasn't giving anything away really, and he was making Alcaraz earn it. And another thing, Alcaraz's body language is really low. Usually his energy is so high, he's hyping up the crowd, he's doing these dramatic shots. But you could just tell he was disappointed by the way he was playing, because he should have been storming ahead in the second set. But Baez just wasn't going away, and Alcaraz just wasn't doing enough really. And physically, he just didn't look overly sharp. I think that was to do with the body language, just wasn't feeling his best, and also to do with the humidity and heat, difficult conditions. But as I said earlier, top players do find a way, even when they're struggling, they manage to get over the line. And in a carbon copy of the first set, Alcaraz broke at 5-6 after well over an hour of tennis in that second set to take it 7-5. But still, brilliant competitiveness and fight from Baez, because Baez was love 40 down, and just again he plays so intelligently that his point construction is immaculate, and he gets it back to juice. And I was fully expecting another monster game, but Alcaraz did end up winning the next 2 points to break with a stunning down the line forehand, which Baez didn't stand a chance to. But then it all went wrong for Baez in the third. So after the second set, Baez took a medical timeout as for his left calf. He clearly wasn't feeling amazing, and it was quite shocking because Baez stopped playing in the first game of the third. It was 40-15 up for Alcaraz, and it just shouldn't have been a winner. He just stopped in the rally and just let it go past him. And Baez never does that. That's one of his best traits, his competitiveness and his fight and his drive to win. He never stops playing. Even if he knows he won't get there, he tries. So he just was not feeling good at all, because when Baez stops, you know it's bad. And it turned out to be cramp, and I think it was the physicality of the first two sets in the hot and humid conditions, because lots of people have been cramping at this tournament and in Canada and Cincinnati. And he was majorly cramping. At the 0-1 game on his serve, he got broken, but it doesn't matter because he retired a little bit later, which was just such a turnaround, because just 10 minutes before they were playing some of the most entertaining, high-quality match probably of the season, and then it's over just like that. So a very disappointing way for the match to end, but overall a fantastic contest between these two. Heartbreak for Baez, he was right in it. I love the guy, his personality is great, his sportsmanship's fantastic, but unfortunately he is heading home. But Alcaraz, on the other hand, advances to the second round, where he either faces Talon Griekspoor or Federico Coria, and I do think it is likely he will win either of those matches, but he definitely needs to play his way into this tournament, start playing better, calm the nerves a little bit, because if he faces a truly top player, he's not playing good enough at the moment. So tough luck for Baez, but all the best for him, and all the best for Alcaraz's tournament and season. But that wraps up my analysis. A lot of work goes into these videos, like making it twice, so subscribing would mean the world. And thank you for watching. Have a great one, guys.